Are we bullish today?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
I
I'm
think so
excited.
is the
It's
best
always a good
answer.
day.
I think so is the realist answer too. But yes, I also think I'm bullish, but maybe I think I'm bullish. All right, man. So we sort of been on this trend recently where we are talking to exchanges. We're diving into the DeFi, and I'm not the guy who's out here trading perps on a regular basis. I am the comfy in spot type of guy. Been around too long and know myself. And knowing myself, I know that I am not a good trader, my friend, to sit in a spot. And yet, there's so many smart people that are pushing at this sort of opportunity. So, I guess I'm really curious. Why does Solana need Ranger? And maybe introduce what is unique about what you guys are building.
Yeah. So we'll start with what is Ranger, right? Ranger is a trading terminal, first of all. Underneath that trading terminal, we have built out a aggregator similar to what, Jupiter did for spot, but Ranger has done for perpetuals, right? Why did Solana need that, or why does Solana still need that? The reason is because you have a number of venues that have liquidity, and you want to still optimize that price, right? And maybe from trade to trade, that might be a different exchange. Maybe you need to split your order across multiple exchanges to optimize your execution price, right? Perp traders are generally a little bit more price sensitive than your average spot traders. So having a system for them to enable them to gain that best execution, whether it's on Drift or it's on Jupiter or Flash or whatever per venue it may be, right? That type of experience really boosts confidence in the Solana ecosystem, specifically around perpetuals, right?
So it seems like we played this big capital rotation game over the last couple of months, definitely the last couple of weeks. The traders, liquidity providers, airdrop farmers chasing what the hot new thing is. And I guess I'm sort of left wondering, is there sort of is there a meaningful competitive edge between these products? And I think, if we look at them on specific individual dexes, maybe that's one thing, but I think there are others that are trying to go after this aggregation play as well. So I'm curious what is the insider differentiator here that you guys are building towards that makes you so confident you're going to win?
Yeah, I think that there are, I mean, on Solana, there's only one purpose aggregator, and that's Ranger. Outside of, the Solana ecosystem, you have maybe like one or two. There are some that call themselves purpose aggregators, but effectively they just route to one venue, right? They let you select, a venue to trade on, and then you can trade on that venue. They don't have any order routing mechanisms that they've designed or built or implemented. And so that's really where Ranger, takes that step above your other trading terminals or aggregators, as they say, because Ranger actually does aggregation, right? It will split your order to help you optimize your execution fills.
Got it. So who is the target user for you guys? Because I guess if I'm sitting here, clearly I would think that if you are able to offer, a comparable service UX trust level, that trading through an aggregator is just going to make far more sense than any of these individual venues. Is that
Yeah.
the right take?
So yeah, that's the take that we have as well, right? I'm a believer that just like in TradFi, you have multiple exchanges that compete for flow of volume, right? That'll happen in we watched it happen in crypto as well. On the centralized exchanges, there's a number of big ones, and in DeFi that'll also happen, right? Whether they're all on one chain, they're on multiple chains, that doesn't really matter to us because we can be chain agnostic. And so as long as you can provide that same trustworthiness, that same great UX experience that you receive on a single applications front end, it does, in our opinion, makes the most sense to trade on an aggregator where you don't really care necessarily about what venue you land on. You care much more about your execution. And that's like the number one important thing that we see, right? Barring that, the UX or the UI is up to, the general trader standards, right? And so that is our take, right? We're aggregating the orders, we're aggregating a lot of the funding rate information, OI. We will have order book information on the application here soon as well. So yeah, we see it really being that all else equal, if you can offer that trade execution benefit, that it only makes sense to trade on an aggregator for perpetuals, just like you have kind of seen in the spot landscape, right? It makes most sense to trade on a spot aggregator as well.
I'm curious about what the actual hard work is here to deliver on that, because if I sort of, and being the ignorant market participant I am, if I step back, I would sort of assume that there's two ways to go at this opportunity. One is to go build a focused platform first, so a perps dex or perps exchange, and then generalize. Or the other way, I guess, is what you guys are going after, which is generalizing to start. But I'm curious, I'm assuming there's some infrastructure, some technical challenges that would make it harder for somebody who's actually building a specific venue to actually extend beyond into others. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, it really depends on, there are a number of problems, and you can choose to solve, or really focus on a couple of them, right? If you're building a underlying venue, right, a perps exchange itself, you have to really focus on, one, your execution out, in the matching, but really it revolves a lot around liquidity, right? Are you going to be able to have good quotes on your platform? And I think that is an incredibly challenging experience, except for especially for these new perp dexes that are coming on the scene, right? Have really incredible mechanisms, but getting that liquidity there initially is a very challenging piece, right? And so on the aggregator side of things, we go, well, we don't have to pay for any liquidity to be on our exchange. We don't have to incentivize any liquidity to be there, right? We have to attract users. Now, they also have to attract users. We have to attract users. And then we also have to manage state across all of these different venues, right? So there are a number of different technical challenges. It just kind of depends on, what you think your team is best set up to solve. And I look at it and I go, I'd rather focus on the distribution game, right, that comes with a perps, an aggregator per se, as opposed to having to fight for liquidity on any given venue. And I think that I also am a big believer that the application layer is really where monetization is going to happen in the long run, as opposed to kind of your protocol level vehicles that I think will be commoditized as time goes on, and that user touch point is really where you'll see that monetization happen, right? And so that's my personal thesis, and that's kind of why I kind of steered towards building the aggregator over underlying perps venue for Ranger.
Yeah, own the relationship with the customer. I totally get that. I'm the distribution game is by no means an easy game to go play. So I'm curious how you guys are strategically approaching that.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it's that easy. I mean, it's taken us, a good amount of time to really start to get up and have the growth that we're seeing today, which is great. But definitely figuring out that distribution game was challenging at first. But what we found success in is going and targeting trading communities in certain geographical regions, whether that's Korea, Vietnam, the CIS region, right? And working with communities there that have some popular traders that have their own communities that they can bring, we can get them on, and then they can bring their communities on, right? So it's much more trying to find your first 100 really strong users that have a good community that are active traders, right? And then helping enable them to bring their communities in, right? And that's where we started to find success, where our volume has really started to see an uptick. We've started to see daily usage take an uptick, as well as obviously improving our product and whatnot. But that distribution game we found really successful, working kind of hand in hand with specific trading communities.
Can you give us a sense of where your metrics are at right now? How many people are using this? What are even the metrics that you're focused on the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're focused on is getting to 9 figures of daily volume on the platform. We're pretty close to that. I think with a integration that is going to go live today, we should be clearing that hurdle internally that we've kind of set for ourselves. So we're pretty excited about that.
What's the integration going live today?
So we will be launching Ranger's Hyperliquid integration today.
All right. So you get the Hyperliquid bulls out here jumping on. That seems bullish. I'm curious about the incentive, because incentives seem to be the name of the game. Like the capital's chasing yield, is chasing airdrops. These traders that have trading communities, clearly you need to put some incentive in front of them to come choose your venue over others. How are you guys approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the ways that we've done that is, we do have like a points program that's live, that, is based off of the volume that you trade through Ranger. Another way is kind of like working with these communities and giving them, like referral links, right? I think that that's like another big one. Right now, like anybody can come and create like a referral link. If you do have a trading community, you can like reach out to us. We'll like verify like your trading community and whatnot. And if it is like a substantial size, we can, boost that ref link kickback, right? To help incentivize to bring like more users on board, right? And that's kind of like what we found like really successful. Not to give like too much secret sauce away, or I'm sure it's like not that secret to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's the obvious thing to go do, which makes me sort of wonder about the sustainability of it. I mean, this is, I think, what's so interesting about crypto, right? Is we've sort of been this industry that I think has really front run what I think every other industry and technology is going to have to face in the next little while, which is, because of mostly the open source nature, or at least like the reduction in cost of shifting liquidity, that there needs to be some deeper, almost like religious fervor in a brand to sort of define a moat here. And I think we're seeing the same impacts that I think AI are going to have on SaaS products, et cetera. That if it's so easy to just go and because of an open source repo or whatever, just copy and paste, it won't be like the technical functionality necessarily, or even the incentives to bring it over, but it'll be some sort of deeper alignment or belief. I
agree.
There's a question there, but yeah.
I mean, no, I agree. And I think a lot of that comes with like being an early mover, right? We were, Ranger was like the first perps aggregator on Solana, and we remained the only perps aggregator on Solana. Moving cross chain, we're also going to be like the first true aggregator that does move like cross chain, and will route your orders across multiple chains on the perpetual side of things. And that really enables you to build that like cult-like following, right? You're working on the ground floor, being that first mover. Yes, you're going to have like issues that come up. Your community will bring forward, right? They'll see you working hard and continuing to like, make progress and make integrations and make the experience generally better, right? I think that Hyperliquid has been like one of those. They rewarded their early users. They were kind of like the first of this, new-ish mechanism. Well, I shouldn't say the first. I kind of think like GYDX kind of used to be like what Hyperliquid was, but then they moved to their own chain.
Too early.
Too early. I think a lot of it was more than that they were just too early, that they the UX experience degraded. Whereas like when Hyperliquid moved from their kind of like blob on top of like Arbitrum to their own L1, right? Their UX didn't degrade, right? And that being like they're the first mover of this like new space, we're now seeing like a number of these like dexes pop up that are similar veins, right? You have your lighters, you have your Asters, Pacifica, bulk trade, right? Like a number of these new venues that are coming online. But you still see Hyperliquid growing in their OI, in their volume, right? Because they were one of those first movers. They built that cult-like following. People really enjoyed that experience. And I think that incentives go a long way, right? But as long as you can maintain that forward trajectory and momentum, that helps keep people there past, your initial incentive unlock, right?
I think Hyperliquid is a great example, right? Because it is both, I think, inspirational to a lot of founders and also terrifying at some level. I think the unique thing was that they were able to bootstrap this product without VC funding, and then able to do a really big airdrop. And I think that, that's not something that's available to everybody, right? And in fact, the majority of teams need to come together and raise capital to be able to go build this really great product to start with. And so I'm curious how, there's sort of, you get to sit in a really fun position here. And I'm using that term very generally here, which is like, you get to go figure out how to go build a really great product. And then you need to go figure out how to launch a really great token. So I'm curious how you guys have conceptualized that and especially as you're sort of building in a category where you kind of have the king of doing it well.
Yeah, I think, Ranger isn't in the same position the Hyperliquid was. Like we went out and we raised, venture funding. So, we have that we have to take a little different approach than what Hyperliquid did, right? Because we weren't bootstrapped. But I definitely think that there is if you pay attention to like the token meta or the narrative that is popular right now, it is your value accruing, it is your ownership tokens, right? People are rotating away from kind of your traditional like vaporware to companies with a token that are accruing revenue and are distributing it generally through sorts of like buybacks, right? And I think that trend is something to pay attention to, as you go to, launch a token. I think obviously there's regulatory concerns that everybody always has, but being, in a position where, you are accruing value to the token goes a long way in ensuring like confidence in this token that this is something that is worth holding for the long run, as well as obviously you have to continuously show that you're growing, your metrics are good, right? If you're like, hey, like we do buybacks and you're buying back like $10 a day, right? Your token's not going to be worth like a whole lot of money, right? But I think that we are starting to see like a pretty big shift in rotation in capital from your more traditional shouldn't say more traditional, but like vaporware like companies or valueless tokens, right? Yeah, traditional in crypto, right? Valueless tokens into companies that have that more, accretive mechanism going on.
Barrett, I've thrown a bunch of questions at you. Appreciate you for diving in and answering them so well. Wish you all the best as you pursue, well, I guess building a valuable token over the long run. It's again, a market that I'm intrigued by. I'm not an active participant in, but I appreciate you being a guide here for me today. Wish you guys all the best. It's Barrett_IO on X. Go give him a follow, and there's probably a ref link out there somewhere. Maybe I need a ref link, even though I'm not a trading.
Yeah, we can get you a ref link.
I'm gonna be the worst referrer ever, brother. I'm just not gonna be the guy. That's Ranger Finance, co-founder of Barrett Williams. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Cheers, man.